What's going on, guys? Got a pretty cool video for today. We're taking an early look at the Seattle Kraken's 2021 expansion draft. Now, what we're actually going to be doing is a mock draft on the Cap Friendly site. If you guys have never heard of Cap Friendly, awesome site. It's all the contracts and stuff for different players and teams. All you have to do is go to Interactive, all the way down to Seattle Expansion Draft Simulator, and you can actually perform your own expansion draft. So for this, the quick and easy way to do it is just to simply click Quick Protect Players here. Unfortunately, though, I found that it doesn't work that great. So right here is Islanders after using Quick Protect. Matt Barzal was not protected. So I couldn't do that. Basically, I had to go through and look at each team as if I was the GM. Who am I going to protect? Who am I going to leave available? So it took a bit, but I think I made it as authentic as possible. Also, too, I try to take into consideration which players should no longer be on the team due to free agency. So basically, a big name, say like Taylor Hall in Arizona, I'm not going to protect him as chances are he won't be on Arizona. We don't know which team he's going to be on. So basically, Seattle 99% sure is not getting Taylor Hall. I feel like I can make it a bit more authentic and hopefully give us a better idea what that Seattle team will look like in 2021. So first here, guys, I'm just going to give you a quick look at every team's protection list. As you can see here for the Ducks, the goalie is always going to be pretty obvious. Their top three defensemen there went 7 forwards for them. Now, Ryan Getzlaf there, you can see is a UFA in 2021. So whenever a player is going to be a UFA, I didn't bother protecting them unless like they were super important or something, as I'm sure the Ducks are just going to tell Seattle, like, go ahead, take Ryan Getzlaf from us, see if he signs with you, as he obviously won't. So they'd be essentially wasting a pick there on Anaheim as they take Getzlaf, and then 6-7 days later, whatever it is, he would go and sign back with the Ducks. So guys like that, you don't need to protect. As you can see here, Ducks protecting a lot of younger players, Lundstrom, Terry, Jones, Steele. I feel like that's going to be the case for a lot of teams. Looking at it, there's a lot of guys that have played like 3 years pro, so they're just available for this draft, and I feel like the teams don't want to lose those younger players. We'd rather lose a guy, say, I guess, on the Ducks like Dan Heinen, opposed to a guy like Troy Terry. Keep those guys with potential. So going through, you can see I already mentioned Arizona, of course, not protecting Taylor Hall. Most teams, I think, went 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, but some teams did do the 8 skaters. Boston Bruins here, of course. Charlie McAvoy, Brandon Carlo. And then with Jeremy Lauzon, I couldn't decide between him and Zaboral, but as it turns out, we actually didn't take either of them in the draft, so not too big of a deal. Moving on to Buffalo, you can see they got Allmark protected. I feel like they'll probably have a better goaltender by that point, whether it be Matt Murray, Braden Holtby, maybe Jacob Markstrom. Those are 3 big goalies who I think will definitely be moved before the mock draft. So again, those 3 guys I left available, as I think they'll be on different teams. And there's a lot of teams, probably 7 teams I think: Buffalo, Calgary, Carolina maybe, Detroit, Edmonton, Senators, Sharks. So 7 teams there who I think could be looking to add a starting goaltender, and the one that they're protecting for this draft just doesn't really matter at all. We're never going to take them. Buffalo here, though, I actually do 8 skaters, 4 and 4. Eichel, Reinhart, Middlestat, and Olofsson. In this, the GM, is able to tell Skinner, there's no way Seattle's taking you with that contract, so just waive your thing, help out the team. Calgary here was a bit tough. Basically, Giordano, I feel there's no way they let him go to Seattle, the captain of that team and everything. Then I feel like Valimaki and Anderson are the future of that D-core along with Hannafin. So Brody's actually left available, as well. I got a couple decent forwards there: Sam Bennett, Michael Backlund. Obviously it's the case, I guess, with the expansion. Again, here I'm just protecting Tyler Parsons. I'm assuming they'll probably be protecting Matt Murray, Braden Holtby, somebody like that in 2021. Carolina here, so I was actually going to go 4 defensemen, but I decided they have so many defensemen, why not just go 3? Let Seattle take one. Now, Dougie Hamilton here, another guy, UFA 2021. He's going to get paid. I'm not sure if he's going to be on Carolina. If Seattle takes him, they got like 5 days to convince him to go with them. I think Hamilton's going to be one of the biggest free agent signings in the summer of 2021, so no reason to protect him, honestly. So instead, they protect their 7 best forwards, keep that under wraps. Basically, we're going to be taking either Brady Shea, Jake Gardner, or Hayden Fleury from Carolina. Chicago here, 7-3. It's pretty much the obvious picks, honestly, for Chicago. Colorado here does get hurt a little bit. Basically, with the play of Ryan Graves, I feel like they want to protect him. Cale Makar, I actually noticed they had to protect, even though Quinn Hughes doesn't need protected. I'm not sure how that works. Quinn Hughes played like 5 games regular season. Cale Makar played 10 games playoffs of their technically first year. At this point, they'll both have 2 full seasons after that, so I'm not sure if that's a glitch of the site or some sort of technicality, but I feel like Gerard, Makar, Johnson, they're going to want to protect all those guys, so they have to protect 4 forwards. Their 4 best guys: Rantanen, McKinnon, Landeskog, Kadri. Leaves a lot open there for us to draft from. Columbus also goes 4 and 4. You can see, though, they can actually protect Korpisalo. Merzlikins does not need protected, so they're actually able to keep both goaltenders there. And I definitely don't see Columbus giving Seattle any picks to take a certain player, as it didn't work out too well at all with Vegas, giving them a 1st and 2nd rounder to take William Karlsson, who ended up being an all-star, their first-line center. Probably one of the worst picks of the expansion draft in terms of like the team that was losing a player. The Dallas Stars here, I think this one was pretty straightforward. Now, Joe Pavelski I actually leave available. 37 by the time this rolls around. 1 year left, making $7 million. I feel like they got to worry about those younger players. Again, a lot of like 22, 23-year-olds teams are really going to have to protect. Detroit here didn't really have much to protect. You can see our goalie, Kane Falker. I'm hoping, fingers crossed we have a better goaltender by that time. I would really like Matt Murray. He's still pretty young. I feel like if we take 3 more years to rebuild, he's still going to be a good goalie. If he can bounce back to form, obviously, kind of lost a starting job there to Jerry. Edmonton here is another team. I got Stuart Skinner being protected. They could have Matt Murray, maybe Holtby, Markstrom. Definitely a better goalie. Florida Panthers here, another team I don't see making any deals with Seattle. Paid Vegas a second-round pick to take Riley Smith, as well as Jonathan Marchessault, so 2/3 of their first line. Definitely rough for them. You can see, though, I have Mike Hoffman there unprotected, another guy. He's UFA actually this year, but consensus, everyone's pretty much saying he's going to be going to free agency, and another guy looking to get paid this summer. We have no idea, though, where he'll be going. Kings, I'm leaving Quick unprotected. As a Seattle GM, I'm not touching Quick. Honestly, Kings don't have a whole lot to protect there. I'm actually leaving Carter exposed, same with Brown. I feel like Seattle probably wouldn't take them. They more care to keep their younger guys. Minnesota here, we do 4 and 4. Obviously, they want to keep those 4 defensemen, Suter, Dumba, Spurgeon, Brodin locked up. In terms of forwards, does leave some guys available, though. I mean, it's just kind of par for the course with the expansion draft. Montreal here, one thing I wasn't sure about is if Bergevin will protect Weber or not. I feel like just in terms of him being the captain, similar to Calgary, he has to do it to kind of save face. It would just look really bad, I think, if you don't protect him. Also, Peach will be a UFA at that point, so we're not going to bother protecting him. Really, no one else there to worry about in terms of protection. Nashville here also has to do 4 and 4 as Dante Fabro needs to be protected. So another guy who's just past that point of exemption, which kind of sucks for Nashville, is they could have went 7 and 3. Now they have to go 4 and 4. Devils here, probably the most interesting thing. I have PK Subban left unprotected. He's going to have 1 year left there at $9 million. I feel like Severson and Butcher for sure are more important than Subban being protected. And then whether it's Mirko Mueller or some other younger defenseman, I feel like they're going to prioritize protecting him over Subban. They honestly might even like Seattle taking that $9 million in cap space from them for free, or who knows, maybe they even give like a 4th round pick. The Islanders, like I said, obviously they're protecting Barzal, so I had to make sure I did this list myself. Defensively there, Leddy, Pollock, Tays, Varlamov in net. For them, Sorokin is an exempt, so that's good. Grice probably no longer on the team, especially with Sorokin added. Rangers, same thing. Shesterkin's exempt. Lundqvist they could protect. He'll be a UFA. Again, I don't think a veteran like that you need to protect. If he wants to stay with the Rangers, he will. Him being drafted by Seattle won't change that. If he wants to go free agency, same thing. Looking through here, I think Elias Anderson could be a big player maybe for us. Hasn't gone too well so far with him in New York, kind of similar to Puljujarvi in Edmonton. Speaking of which, I actually did protect Puljujarvi on the Oilers as we had a 7th forward spot, and I kind of feel like by that point, he's either back in good races with the team, they're going to protect him, or he's no longer on the team, in which case, I mean, the other guy we'd protect, really no one too great, maybe James Neal. I don't see Seattle taking James Neal either. Ottawa here, another team could need a goalie. We're just protecting Philip Gustafsson. Zaitsev there for the 3rd defenseman, really outside Shabbat. Defense isn't too great. Most of their young forwards there obviously getting protected. It sucks them though. They gotta protect guys like Brown, Batherson, Abramov, who really haven't even broken into the league yet. Flyers here, probably the most interesting one. I actually have Gostisbehere unprotected. Provorov, Sanheim, I think for sure get protected over him. Then I have a guy like Philip Myers who I think could, just because Gostisbehere's play this year hasn't been great, so maybe that contract they don't mind losing, especially if they do plan on bringing back a guy like Matt Niskanen. Forwards there, JVR unprotected, $7 million. Don't think they have to worry about that. Pittsburgh, like I said, I think they're going to lean towards keeping Jerry because they can probably get him to stay for cheaper than Matt Murray. Both of them actually need a new contract this summer, or maybe even just the fact they think they could trade Murray for more. And if they have the 2 goalies equal in their mind, why not trade the one you can get more back for? Defensively, I think Schultz probably leaves. Don't need to protect him. The forwards there, I think, all make sense. Sharks here, Jones or Dell, I don't think they care. They're a team that needs a goalie for sure, too. The top 3 defensemen there, Carlson, Edward Vlasic have NMCs. Burns we don't have to protect, but really there's no one else to protect. I feel like Burns will still have more value than any of those guys. Obviously they're protecting their top forwards there. St. Louis Blue, so Alex Petrangelo is another guy. He could be the biggest free agent signing of this summer, I guess, along with Taylor Hall. Or he could stay with St. Louis. If he does stay with St. Louis, I think my list is the same, but take out either Falk or Dunn. I'm not sure how that'll go, and again, I want to make this as authentic as possible, and I think the best way to do that is just to kind of play it safe and not try to steal a player who probably won't be available. Now, Tampa Bay, I've seen a ton of people doing this, getting Ryan McDonough, which I thought was pretty surprising. So, if I'm Tampa Bay, I'm doing 4 and 4 here. I feel, obviously, protect Vasilevsky, Hedman, McDonough, Cal Foot, Sergachev. So your 3 best NHL defensemen, your best defensive prospect in Foot. Then for forwards, obviously Kucherov, Stammer, Point, and Cirelli are must protects. So those are your 4. After that, it doesn't really matter. Like, you basically say, all right, take your pick, Platt, Gord, Johnson, Killorn. Even if you did 7, you're still going to lose 1, probably Killorn. All these guys I think are pretty similar. Like, they're all making pretty similar money, pretty similar age. Just leave it all unprotected. Make sure you can keep that extra defenseman in McDonough because you have more forward depth, and just say, take a guy, we don't care who. I think this is a better strategy for Tampa Bay. Toronto here, again, Tyson Barrie, I think almost for sure will not be with the Maple Leafs. We don't know where he's going to be, so he's unprotected. Riley Muzzin, Dermott there. Anderson and Nets. You got the forward you expect. Now moving on to the Canucks here, Jacob Markstrom I already mentioned, unprotected. Expect him to be with a new team. Edler, Tanev, Juolevi there for the defense. Juolevi honestly could be unprotected, but don't really see anything else there worth protecting. The forwards, Cole Lind there, kind of a prospect. Other than that, just kind of your top 6 guys. Washington, this was a tough one. Again, I think Elias Samson will be the start at this point. I have Kempny there protected over a guy like Lucas Johansson or even Siegenthaler, as Kempny's been really good for the Capitals, and neither of those prospects have really showed much to me. Also, too, I see a lot of people having Oshie going to Seattle. Looking at the team, though, I mean, are they going to protect Sprong over a known commodity like Oshie, a fan favorite? I really don't see it happening. I mean, I could be wrong, but I just don't see it. The Jets here, this was a pretty easy one. Defensively, they really only had about 3 guys worth protecting. Logan Stanley, first-round pick, but he's just basically big. Forwards there, I left Brian Little exposed. 32 years old means he's getting up there in age. Pretty big contract till 2024. Had some injury problems. So, again, looking through it all, guys, I don't want to take too long. I think who I chose to protect for each team makes sense. I tried to, get inside the mind of that GM. Who do I least want to lose here? After all of that, guys, I went to draft team, picked our 30 players. So I'll show you the team. Now, honestly, I think it's a pretty solid squad. You can see there, we still have about $14 million in cap space after picking 30 players, which is pretty good. So forwards here, we got Joe Pavelski. Basically, my reasoning behind this, 36 years old, good veteran presence for this team. 1 year left at $7 million. We could definitely flip him at the deadline, especially if retain, say, 50%. Mikael Granlund there is actually going to be UFA this year, so I'm thinking whether he resigns with the Preds potentially or goes to another team. A guy like him, I think, will be available for Seattle to take. Andre Platt, I think, was the best of the remaining forwards on Tampa. Not only that, but he's actually got 1 year left as well. So if this team doesn't perform, if they're out of the playoffs at the deadline, I wanted to have a ton of guys with only 1 year left, give us tons of options, trade them away, get picks and prospects back, and really just build this team for the future. Personally, I think Vegas was a fluke. I don't think Seattle's going to be able to pull that off, but we'll see kind of the strategy that they have when they actually do the real draft. Jeff Carter there, same thing. Now, Alex Memberg's a guy who I literally think could be William Karlsson 2.0. Plays for Columbus. He's a center. He's Swedish. And I feel like he just isn't getting the right opportunity with the Blue Jackets to thrive. I don't think Tortorella's a huge fan of his. So put him on Seattle, play him in the top 6. Honestly, maybe even have him as our first-line center. Give him a couple good wingers. Just have him worry about offense. I know he's a big playmaker. Just give him a couple shooters. Looking at Jeff Carter potentially. David Perron. I think he could really thrive with this team. Speaking of which, David Perron there, 1 year left. He actually gets taken twice in the expansion draft. Kind of feel bad. Andreas Johnson, I think, could also play pretty well with a bit more ice time. Obviously, stuck behind a ton of All-Stars in Toronto. Chris Tierney, I think, is just a solid pick to be like a third-line center for this team. How about a couple other guys on Ottawa? But I feel like Tierney was the best pick. Achari there from Florida. I mean, we could have taken Hoffman, but like I said, I don't think he'd have been there, and literally there was nothing else. So Achari, I just feel like is a solid bomb 6 player. Same for Virtanen, especially since he's younger, could turn into like a good middle 6. Luke Kunin, again, a younger player with some upside. Even if they don't make the NHL team, they're playing lots of minutes in the AHL, and hopefully they can just be a part of the Seattle core in the future. And you know what, guys? I'm actually making one quick change on the fly. Rather than taking Anders Bork here from the Bruins, I'm going to take Jacob Zaboral instead. I feel like we already have enough forwards. As you can see, we got 17. And Zaboral was a first-round pick, hasn't quite found his form yet, but I think he probably has a higher ceiling than Bork, and with all the forward depth we have, really no reason to have him. Elias Anderson, another guy, if he can live up to his potential, 7th overall pick, that'd be a huge pick there for Seattle. And next you have Kiefer Bellows from the New York Islanders, same thing, younger player who I think's got some good potential. For me, it was actually between him and Ho-Sang, but I feel like Ho-Sang will probably be traded away from the Islanders by that point, as he hasn't really gotten a good shot with the organization. I feel like another team will definitely be willing to give up a 3rd or 2nd round pick to take a chance on him. I'm a big believer, obviously, in Ho-Sang as a Spitz fan. And then we have Tyson Jose from the Colorado Avalanche. Again, it was between 2 guys, him and Burakovsky, but Jose is a bit younger, and I think he might have a bit higher potential, so if you're an expansion team, why not take the risk? Brendan Pelini on the Red Wings was pretty much the only player of any value, which makes sense. We're terrible. Daniel Sprong there on the Washington Capitals. He's been all over the league. He's still only 23. I think he still does have some potential. And I feel like an expansion team might be the perfect opportunity for him, as it's going to be wide open in terms of ice time, in terms of finding a role in the team. And if he can fit into a top 6 or even top 9 spot, could play really well in the NHL. And then Mason Appleton, same thing, 24, had really good numbers in the AHL. So if he actually gets some time in the NHL, I think could turn out to be a pretty good player. Looking at the defense there, of course, led by PK Subban. Another thing I didn't mention about Subban too, guys, I think this would be a great pick for Seattle, just in terms of like marketing the team. Obviously, Subban is one of the biggest, one of the best personalities in the NHL. So even though he's probably making a bit too much money at $9 million, it honestly might be worth it for Seattle as a business investment. As like I said, I think Subban's just a great guy to help build the brand for that team. Brady Shea there. For Carolina, it was between him and Hayden Fleury, and I feel like Shea gives us a bit more experience, especially since Hayden Fleury still hasn't quite, made that jump to the NHL, mostly been in the AHL, and we have so many other guys like that. We don't really have too many guys mid-20s with a lot of NHL experience like Shea. Also, he's one of a few guys who's actually under contract. TJ Brody there from the Flames, assuming he gets extended this offseason. Shane Gostisbehere, I think, would be a great pick for Seattle if he is available. Another guy who I think changes scenery. If, he continues to struggle in Philly, could be great for him. Another reason actually why we didn't take Jake Gardiner either from Carolina. I feel like Gostisbehere will give us a lot of offense. Same with Subban, Brody. A lot of these D-men are actually more offensive. Oli Mata there from Chicago. Just like a decent, bomb pair guy, I think. Colin Miller, another guy just like David Perron, actually getting selected for the second time in the expansion draft. Jacob Larson from the Ducks, younger defenseman, I think has good potential. Noah Juleson on the Montreal Canadiens, a guy who maybe could still find some form. Jacob Zaboral, Caleb Jones, actually probably the best of these four. He's already played a decent amount with Edmonton in the NHL. So all these guys, they don't make the NHL team. Hopefully dominating the AHL for Seattle. And then goaltenders here, I've got Martin Jones from the San Jose Sharks. You guys are probably thinking, why would I take him? Terrible contract, hasn't played well. So what I'm thinking is the Sharks probably want rid of him so bad, either go with Dell as a starter or Dell backing up somebody new. I feel like if the Sharks retained $1 million and they gave us a second round pick, I'd be willing to take on Jones's contract. And I think that's pretty fair. $4.75 million for a goalie who's not played too well, but they gave us a second round pick. We have the cap space. Antti Ranta there as well. Now he'll be a UFA, but I think unlike a lot of the other UFAs, Seattle will have a really good shot to convince him to come and join their team, be the starting goaltender, something he hasn't really had too much of a shot to do. Darcy Kemper, always battling from ice time. But I feel like on this team, he would be the outright starter unless Martin Jones somehow just returns to form. And then Casey DeSmith there would be the backup / third string goalie. Basically, if Jones isn't playing well at all, DeSmith would be the backup, send Jones to the AHL. Looking at the players Pittsburgh had available, there was just nobody good. Now, speaking of the goalies, guys, I totally forgot to mention this. There's one more thing. So, there's actually a ton of veteran goalies who are going to be available in the expansion draft, but they're all on expiring deals, so I feel like none of these guys are going to sign with the expansion team, so I left them unprotected, didn't take them. Guys like Devin Dubnyk, he's chasing the Stanley Cup. He's not going to sign with Seattle if we took him. Henrik Lundqvist for sure. There was another guy too. I think Pecorine on Nashville will be available. They're older veterans. I don't see them, unless they really think like we're Vegas 2.0, I don't see them sign with Seattle, but overall, I already mentioned, I think the team honestly looks really good. I feel like they can compete now. But my number one priority for sure with this team was building for the future. And I feel like we did that, got a lot of good young players to build this core around. So that's going to be it, guys, for this video. Let me know what you thought about my picks in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this one, leave a thumbs up. Now, as always, guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. Thanks so much for watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye.